means
You're on Fox.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Lacey Peterson's autopsy has been released to a few involved with the murder case. We'll have details. Shocking comments from the mother of an accused rapist. We'll play them for you. A Factor exclusive. We have Hillary Clinton's college thesis and nobody else does. Says a lot about her. Also, a mother who killed her little girl now wants to regain custody of her other children. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
An alert for Americans overseas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. And the State Department is warning Americans in Saudi Arabia there's a chance terrorists could strike there again. This comes after unconfirmed reports warning of possible attacks in the Al Hamra district in Jeddah. Meantime, FBI agents arrived in Saudi Arabia today. They're helping investigate Monday's terrorist bombing in Riyadh that killed 34, including at least 8 Americans. U.S. troops catch another most wanted Iraqi. Abdullah Mahdi was caught in a raid into Crete. Mahdi was a Ba'ath Party regional commander and is the 2 of diamonds in CENTCOM's deck of cards. Well, at any moment, a final vote could come on the Senate tax cut bill. It could lop off hundreds of billions of dollars, but the dollar amount is far less than what the president wants. Earlier, Vice President Dick Cheney broke a tie on the Senate floor on an amendment that suspends taxes on stock dividends for 3 years. And during a commercial break, you might want to pop your head outside because right now a full lunar eclipse is happening. This is the first time in 3 years a lunar eclipse is visible in North America. A full lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth's shadow covers a full moon. It usually lasts about 3 hours. Of course, wait for that commercial break, though. More headlines in 30 minutes. The O'Reilly Factor starts now, right here on the Fox News Channel.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. A reign of terror. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. You may have noticed that some in the elite media, that's network news and newspapers like the New York Times, have stepped up their attacks on the Fox News channel. That's because we dominated TV coverage of the Iraqi war. And the power of this organization is growing quickly. The attacks basically say that Fox News does not report the truth, that we shade our coverage to help conservatives like President Bush. So, it was interesting to see New York Times editor Howell Raines get hammered by his own people in the wake of that Jason Blair scandal over at the Times. In a meeting yesterday, more than a few Times reporters and editors accused Raines of presiding over a reign of terror, pardon the pun. Some journalists allege Raines imposes his point of view on the organization, and they call his clique the Politburo after the Soviet leadership apparatus. Now, to be fair, I don't know what the heck's going on inside the New York Times, and I don't care. No question they have great reporters, but also no question that this Howell Raines guy is a left-wing fanatic, although he did hit Bill Clinton hard over his ethical problems. So it's pretty interesting when Raines and his comrades toss grenades at the Fox News channel. The no-spin truth is there are ideologues on both the left and the right, and you'll never get the truth from them. They'll spin the facts their way. Here at the Fox News channel, there are a few committed conservatives, also a few committed liberals, but our reporters and news anchors are neutral. What really tees off the elite left is that they no longer set the news agenda. Scandal at the New York Times has badly hurt that paper. The Los Angeles Times is in complete disarray, and network news loses audience every month. So now you have a choice, because we at Fox are not politically correct, and we will present conservative viewpoints that Howell Raines and his ilk would never sanction. The Times has one conservative columnist, William Safire. Every other columnist at the New York Times leans left, or like Bob Herbert or Paul Krugman, are diehard liberals. So the next time you hear whining about the Fox News channel, know that if we weren't here, the elite media would be a lot more powerful than it is right now. And you can decide whether that's a good or bad thing. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, the Lacey Peterson autopsy has been given to the principals in the case. With us now, Rita Cosby, who has the latest information. Now, this hasn't been made public, correct?
It has not been made public. It's been given to both sides, obviously.
Right. And you know what?
Well, I'm being told, and again, we have to cite this. This is coming from defense team sources, which I think is important to note. Defense team sources are telling us that indeed there was some mutilation to the body, apparently some decapitation, and a lot of trauma. They also say, look, if this happened, this very sort of violent death, which is what they're saying the signs are pointing to, how come there was no severe blood evidence found in the home? Because investigators say they believe it happened in the house. Exactly. That's why I think it's important to say where it's coming from.
Right. You get the autopsy and you spin it your way. But the important thing here is that this woman died a brutal death, right?
It sounds like she died a very brutal death. And what we will probably hear from prosecution sources is that it may be somewhat unclear if that happened post-death. It may have been part of the removal of the body, hiding of the body, a number of things. It still seems up for debate if that happened during
Rita,
or after.
You know as well as I do that with forensic science the way it is, they can pinpoint.
They can pinpoint.
What kind of wounds are man-made, what kind are made by nature underwater. They know.
Right, but the question is, how exactly did she die? Some of these acts may have happened right afterwards in terms of the disposal of the body. What I will tell you, prosecution sources are telling me that it sounds like what they are saying, she died at the hands of her husband. I said, did he use his hands? And they are saying that's what it looks like.
Well, that's interesting.
So that's very
prosecution sources told you that she died at the hands of her husband, and you said, did he use his hands? And they said what?
It looks like yes.
It looks like yes.
So that's very telling, I think.
All right. I don't want to try this case in the media, and I know they're going to do that on other cable shows, and I just don't want to do that here. So is that all you know about the autopsy?
That's what we're hearing in the autopsy. Again, as you point out, it's been sealed, but we're hearing from what it sounds like pretty violent death and at least a pretty violent disposal of the body.
All right. Now, it also looks like that at least the defense is going to put forth their case in the media no matter what. Would that be accurate?
No matter what. And I also have some new details to break on your show, which is interesting, too. What the defense team, and Mark Garagos, who you're seeing there, who's the lead attorney taking over, he specifically, remember we heard about this woman that he said, hey, come forward, we're looking for this woman. My sources are telling me that he's looking for a specific woman who he says claims that she saw someone abduct Lacey Peterson in a brown van. Now, that is significant because there was a brown van parked outside the Peterson house on December 24th, the day that Lacey went missing was reported missing.
Okay, but I mean...
So, but what's interesting is he's saying, if we can find this woman, and I'm saying, look, you're telling me you're going to find a specific person, and their sources are saying
he
yes.
should have, well, maybe he did. Maybe he handed this over to the cops and have everybody look for this
Well, now,
van
this is interesting.
whatever.
The cops apparently did. Now, I talked to police sources. They said, yeah, we did look. It looks like it was a landscaper. Are you sure it was a landscaping van? They said, we're pretty sure it was a landscaping van.
Okay. See, again, I mean, I'm not even going to bother with that. That's the police business, and if Garagos can find some woman, Garagos can find some woman and says, "Hey, I saw Lacey Peterson grab by it," he's got more power to him.
More power
to him.
And in fact, he has said, "I'm going to find who that person is," and I said, "That's a tall order." But he said, "I'm going to do it."
Johnny Cochran said he was going to find Colombian drug dealers that killed Nicole Simpson.
Exactly.
All right, now. You had your phone tapped in this case. This is absolutely true, ladies and gentlemen. Rita Cosby had her phone tapped. Now, tell us what that was.
Well, this is interesting. Actually, it wasn't my phone. It was actually Scott Peterson's phone. And what they did do, this is interesting. They sent out a letter. I received this letter just yesterday from the district attorney's office in Stanislaus County, the one you're seeing right there. And it was sent by certified mail saying that Scott Peterson's phone calls, essentially, his home phone and his cell phone, were tapped between January 10th and February 4th. Right? I called him. He also called me. There's a series of calls. I don't know how many were intercepted or monitored. It doesn't say specifically, but it says my calls essentially were recorded. I would say he maybe called me 3 or 4 times. I probably called him a dozen times, asking him, of course, to do an interview. How many
long conversations did you have with this guy?
I'd say at least at that point, in that time frame, I've had dozens since then.
But did he say anything incriminating that these people could have picked up on a wiretap?
Absolutely not, because you know me as a reporter. If he had said something incriminating, I would have been on the air. Anything that would have been helpful to the case.
Wasn't any off-the-record stuff?
Nothing off the record. In fact, he was adamant. When I spoke with him, he said, look, I absolutely didn't do this. I was calling him and saying, look, this piece of evidence is coming forward. I'm hearing this from sources. But everything that you talked
to him on the phone, sometimes I'll go off the record with people.
Yes.
Right, but you didn't. Everything was on the record.
Never went off the record with
him. All of your phone calls over a 2-month period, 3-month period, what was it?
I would say it's been ever since it happened, 4 or 5 months.
Tapped. And he didn't know that his phone was tapped.
He did not know his phone was. I will tell you, he did say to me, Rita, don't go on the air and say this, but he never said anything that was incriminating, nothing different than what I was reporting on the air.
Rita Cosby, thanks very much for the update. We appreciate it. Next on the rundown, a mother defends her son who's accused of rape. You won't believe it when you hear this. And then, a Factor World exclusive. We have Hillary Clinton's college thesis. Right back.
Talking Points is brought to you by Cadillac. Bold vehicles defying convention.
give up his big city medical practice for a small group of patients who needed him more in a place where doctors are all too scarce. So I embraced that dream with unwavering attention and made it my own. Because helping people realize dreams is what I do at Morgan Stanley. One client at a time.
$5,000 by the end of tomorrow. Tuesday on an all-new Lucky.
Can't get that kind of money.
Well, then Lucky can.
I'll be damned.
The squeeze is on.
We're calling the police.
But Lucky's got a plan. You better watch your ass, boy.
Little rat bastard.
Now, the last thing he needs
Operation root of all evil is your go.
is a little help from his friends.
What's wrong with you, dude? Seriously.
Yeah, this is munchy.
Sucker.
John Corbett is Lucky. An all-new episode Tuesday only on FX. Check local listings.
A classic rivalry is renewed. After a hot start, the surprising Cubs believe this is finally their year. But Edmonds and the surging Cards stand poised for a heated division showdown.
Can you believe that?
Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week.
In the Impact segment tonight, 23-year-old Tyrone Williams is charged with 15 counts of rape, sodomy, and robbery here in New York City. Williams is an ex-con. Police say he's a vicious human being, but his mother, Darlene, sees it differently. Listen to this.
I know my son. My son will not rape nobody because he don't need to rape nobody because my son looks too good to rape somebody. He drop dead gorgeous. He can get sex from anybody. My son has 2 babies on the way. He already has a daughter. He has up-teen girlfriends. Why would my son need to rape anybody?
He's charged with 7 rapes, this Tyrone Williams. A shocking soundbite. With us now, Dr. Jeffrey Gardier, clinical psychologist and author of the book Love Prescription, Ending the War Between Black Men and Women. I'm stunned. You know where I heard this soundbite first? Howard Stern.
Yeah.
On his radio program. And it was recorded by our local affiliate here in New York, Channel 5.
This goes to show you how ridiculous the statement is and how insulting to the victims if, in fact, this Tyrone Williams is the person. I don't think this woman really does understand what rape is about. It's not a crime of sex. It's a crime of violence, intimidation, and the sexual aspect of that is secondary.
Well, obviously, the woman isn't well educated, and she seemed adamant in her opinion. But I was troubled about the cavalier. He already has 2 children, all right? Another on the way, umpteen girlfriends. Like, this is something to be proud of.
I think in her own way what she was trying to do, and not to band-aid her at all, Bill, I think what she was trying to do was to prove that he didn't need to have sex.
Sure.
He didn't have to get sex in that way. But we all know that rape, again, that's not the reason for sex. It is about intimidation and destroying people's lives.
Right, but in the thought process that this woman used, all right, his mother used, the thought process was, hey, my son is a stud. My son has 2 children with another on the way.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
plenty of girlfriends. What an incredible... Yeah. I have to say this, again, I don't like to bash people, but what an incredible it's a stupid way to try to defend your son. She was better off saying, it wasn't my son who did this.
Right.
But to show that he's such a player, he's such a playboy, I think it makes it look even worse for him because he's all over the place.
But you're a PhD, and what I want to know is, in the neighborhoods where we have 89% of children born out of wedlock, black women between 15 and 25, 89% born out of wedlock. Is this the prevailing wisdom?
I don't think it's the prevailing wisdom. However, whether you're talking about a black neighborhood, whether you're talking about a mixed neighborhood, there are those people who still have what I call a ghetto mentality, where they still think that it is appropriate to have children out of wedlock. We know this happens, and we know there are great one-person family homes, one-parent homes. However, there are those people who still believe a man is a man, and you prove your manhood by having as many children with as many different women as possible.
Right.
So I don't think it's a black thing, but there are some people in the black community, I have to be honest, who believe that.
Okay, it's not a black thing, but the proportion of babies out of wedlock in the black community is much, much higher than the Hispanic or white community in America.
Well, that it is,
Much
but I don't think there are many people in the black community who are proud of that. Many of those people live in poverty. Many of those people have gotten pregnant out of ignorance, or they felt that they haven't had a choice, or they'd like to have a child because they can't get anyone else to love them. Those are actions that are very misguided, but I wouldn't say that they're very proud of having children out of wedlock.
Now, is it changing at all? Because, see, this woman, I don't think this woman is you know, people might say that's extreme. I don't think it's extreme.
I would have to disagree with you, Bill.
Yeah.
I think that what this woman said was very extreme, and she represents a very extreme part of the population. Interestingly enough, on my radio show later, I'll be interviewing someone who says the way to get people out of ghettos is to give them rent vouchers. And my response to that is, you can take the ghetto, you could take the person out of the ghetto, but can you take the ghetto out of the person?
All right. Now, if we had this woman, and she didn't want to come on, I mean, obviously, and I don't blame her. I mean, coming up against me in this situation, I mean, she's not going to do that. But if you had to counsel this woman, all right, and she came into you and you said, look, I saw you on television saying these things, would you be judgmental? See, I don't know if these people are confronted with what they do and say. And when you're not confronted in this society with your actions, all right, you're not held accountable for what you do and say, then you're more liable to go off into these realms that are antisocial. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, but I do believe that many people in the black community really do want to change. They really want something better, not just for themselves,
How can
but
they bring
especially for
pressure
their
then
children.
on the people who are behaving like this? How can they bring pressure?
I think people like myself, you know, other people in the black community need to come out and say, listen, we're not proud of what this woman had to say.
But what would
and
you
perhaps,
say specifically to this woman? Say she was sitting across from you. What would you say?
I would have to handle it analytically, Bill, and say to her, listen, my dear, perhaps subconsciously you really believe that you are responsible for these rapes because you raised this individual. If in fact it is the individual, you raised this individual. So by saying these very stupid things, in many ways, you may be trying to band-aid yourself. You may be trying to take the guilt off of yourself, and you really have to wake up and smell the coffee that there's something terribly wrong in your home for your son to do these things.
Even if he's innocent of these charges, and we don't believe he is, they've got him, all right? But even if he's innocent, he's an ex-con with 3 children, 3 illegitimate children. I mean, you know, this isn't Happy Days here. This isn't the Cunningham family.
Right.
And I think that this woman, I feel bad for her. I don't think she's an educated
I feel
woman,
horrible
but
for
she's got to be confronted. She's got to be confronted.
I feel horrible for her, and what I would tell my children and what I would tell other black children, here's an example of something that you don't want to emulate. This is not what we as black people are about.
She's not going to be Mom of the Year.
Exactly. And don't use that as an example of this woman being a spokesperson for our race.
Okay, Doctor. Pleasure to see you. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Bill. Thank you.
In a moment, Factor Exclusive. For years, people have been wondering what Hillary Clinton wrote in her college thesis in Wellesley. We have it. Nobody else does. Next.
Real journalism, fair and balanced. Fox News Channel.
Hey, Pollen, what's with the toolbox?
We got work to do, Ragweed. As soon as her allergy medicine stops working, we gotta start her suffering.
See that bottle of Allegra? We can't wait around for it to stop working. It goes all day and all night.
One dose of most allergy medicines doesn't work as long as you want, but just one Allegra 180 lasts up to 4 times longer than most OTC allergy medicines.
Tired of waiting, huh? Allegra outlasted you.
I have the patience of an allergen, not a saint.
Allegra is for people 12 and over. Side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. For your seasonal allergy symptoms, ask your doctor about Allegra.
So, is her Allegra ever gonna stop working?
I think we should have a backup plan.
Allegra, the relief goes on.
The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
Introducing the GMC Envoy XL.
You've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
The midsize SUV engineered to comfortably seat 7 full-size adults.
Underway. You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
Emerging science suggests that lycopene is one of the ingredients in tomatoes that may help reduce the risk of heart disease. Now Centrum and Centrum Silver have lycopene, another reason to take your Centrum. New Centrum with lycopene, now more complete from A to zinc.
Your pet's same exact heartworm and flea medications delivered to your home, saving you time and money. 1-800-PET-MEDS. We deliver savings and convenience on HeartGuard, Advantage, Frontline, and all other pet medications. Order now and receive free shipping.
In the final 4 hours,
Place him under arrest. Mike, go.
the season's most suspenseful television series draws to its shocking conclusion.
Kim, shoot him now.
24, The Final Truth, next week on Fox.
I remember our first night in the new house with the dish.
We weren't getting a picture, and we didn't want to be trapped in this house with 5 kids and no TV.
We absolutely have to have a TV.
I went up to try and get a signal, fix this the satellite dish. The dish was outside this window, and the TV was down here. So I rigged a series of mirrors down the hallway, here, and here, to see if the TV had a picture.
The next morning I said, that's it. So I called Comcast and we got digital cable. We should have done this a long time ago.
A stepfather kidnaps his own child.
You can't do nothing worse to a woman than take her kid.
And why investigators can't bring him to justice.
You don't think your husband would do something like that to you.
Tonight on KOVR 13 News at 10. If you think you've seen it all,
Why do guys do this?
just wait till you see what happens when family members are put to the test on the next Tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 4 on KOVR 13.
In the personal story segment tonight, for years I've been wondering why Wellesley College in Massachusetts was keeping Hillary Clinton's thesis secret. It turns out we got it this week, and the college cooperated. Although most of the thesis is still being kept secret because of copyright laws, they say. The paper is entitled There Is Only the Fight, and it analyzes Saul David Alinsky, a liberal activist who died in 1972. Joining us now from New Orleans is Professor Douglas Brinkley, who teaches history at the University of New Orleans and is the author of the new book, Wheels for the World, Henry Ford, His Company, and a Century of Progress. I think it's safe to say that Saul Alinsky would not like Henry Ford. He was a radical. He wrote 2 books, Rules for Radicals and Reveille for Radicals. But let's take it step by step. This is a fascinating story. Wellesley gave us a few pages, about 15 pages of this thesis, and wouldn't give us any more, saying that it was copyrighted. Now, number one, I don't know why the whole thing why would we get 15 pages? Do you know anything about this? You're a PhD.
That seems quite bizarre. Not just a PhD, but I spent a lot of time looking for senior theses of people, and sometimes people are embarrassed by them. I think she obviously doesn't want some of it coming out, and has probably made a deal with the Board of Trustees or something to kind of keep the press away, would be my guess. When you do oral history sometimes, like Bob Dalek's new book with the Kennedy intern, some of that was blacked out, and Bob got the oral history and got the person to look at it. But to sanitize a thesis seems to me to be the opposite of what Saul Alinsky was about, which was a kind of democratic
openness. Doesn't
openness.
make any sense. I mean, Wellesley says that all theses attached to that college are copyrighted. Now, I did a thesis at Harvard, and I did a thesis at Boston University. And, you know, if anybody wants it, they can go in and get it. I mean, they're not blacking anything out, even if I wanted it to be blacked out.
No, and copyright, it means you can't use it. And my interpretation of it would be if I wrote my doctoral dissertation at Georgetown, people can't go and lift information, but to black out part of my dissertation means you're not part of it. So there's something wrong here.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now, who's Saul Alinsky?
Saul Alinsky was born in Chicago, 1909. Came from a Russian Jewish immigrant family and went on to become one of the champions of the underdog in Chicago. He ended up suing the University of Chicago, trying to help the stockyard workers, the great butcher shop that Chicago was back then, and went on really as a labor activist in many ways, wrote a book about John L. Lewis. But by the 1960s, in the period with Hillary Clinton, he had become a great hero of the New Left, along with Michael Harrington. And what I think significant about Saul Alinsky for Hillary Clinton is that he was teaching a new generation of radicals to be more pragmatic, not just to have wild rhetoric, but to find a villain. And in the case of Alinsky, the most famous ones was Chicago, University of Chicago, and the city of Chicago, and then later Eastman Kodak in Richmond, and to press for more rights for African Americans in particular within both city government.
So he was a social activist. Was he a communist?
No. He was part of more of a, you could call him a democratic socialist. He was more in a tradition maybe of people like Dorothea Day. It was a very bright, dapper fellow, but was definitely on the what we consider today I'd call the the American left.
Okay, the far left.
He was on the far left, but he was always contained his rhetoric and had a sense of humor with it. Once Oakland tried to ban him, the city council, from even entering the city to organize, and so he sent them boxes of diapers and brought the press with him. And he had
was a showman. He was like Ralph Nader.
Absolutely like Nader. They would be written in the same chapters of the same book on social
Now, Hillary
activism.
doesn't, from the pages that we got, isn't endorsing him and saying, I love this guy. She's basically saying, well, he falls down in the practicality area. That's what I took out of it.
Well, I read the excerpts that you guys provided me to take a look at, and that's what I found. It's a little bit of kind of overwritten thinking in the thesis pages. He somehow connects Saul Alinsky to Walt Whitman, for example, as somebody preaching a kind of a democratic virtue, which I think is a very forced connection. But the excerpts that we got just tells you that it wasn't particularly well written or thought out, but that she had been somewhat inspired by Lewinsky, as many young college kids were in the 60s, because he was talking about a way of radicalizing in a kind of grassroots way, community organizing. And that, I think, is the key point. Hillary's most famous book is, It Takes a Village. That's pure Saul Alinsky. I mean, that's what his whole concept was. It takes a community to organize against a foe.
All right, there you go. So we got it, and we wish you got all of it, but we didn't. But I think we got more than everybody else. Professor, thanks very much for that very cogent analysis. We appreciate it. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. More bad blood between the USA and Canada, this time over pot. The drug czar will be here. And then a follow-up on a 4-year-old girl scalded to death by her mom. That mother wants her other kids back. We hope you stay tuned.
Ready for a real sale? Get in on Suzuki's Move Fast sale. It only happens once a year. So hurry and take home the 2003 Suzuki XL7, a Consumer's Digest Best Buy, with America's #1 warranty. Get 0% APR financing for 5 years or $2,000 cash back. So get in and take a closer look at America's best value. Move fast to get a great deal, but hurry, offer ends June 2nd.
Hello? It's Dr. Ross. I have your colon polyp test results. You're fine.
Help stay that way with Caltrate Colon Health. You may help reduce the risk of recurrent colon polyps, a colon cancer risk factor. Don't wait. Take Caltrate Colon Health.
Your pet's same exact heartworm and flea medications delivered to your home, saving you time and money. 1-800-PET-MEDS. We deliver savings and convenience on HeartGuard, Advantage, Frontline, and all other pet medications. Order now and receive free shipping.
On that day, in 44 minutes of sheer hell, there wasn't a single officer that ran away. That's brave. Based on a true story.
Multiple suspect armed with AK-47.
Michael Madsen, Ron Livingston, and Mario Van Peebles.
There's nothing we have that can stop him.
44 minutes, the North Hollywood Shootout. Coming this summer, only on FX. For an American cop taking on London.
There are certain protocols.
Hey, you guys got this whole Queen thing going on? I get it.
The only thing harder than solving the crimes is figuring out his new roommate.
Good morning.
Oh, is it? Has your visa expired?
This summer,
Your dog is using my cat as a shag toy.
American know-how is going a long way.
No, Pete. Bad dog.
Kid Eddie and her series coming in June to Fox.
Tonight, it's easy as Dell, and he's got the hard drive. CEO Michael Dell has reinvented the PC industry. What's his company's high-speed connection to success? He'll tell you on Your World with Neil Cavuto.
What happens when the media meet the news?
Go behind the camera. Get inside the news.
The whole story, unfiltered, uncensored.
No spin, no twist.
Just the facts, just the truth, nothing to hide.
You can find it. You can count on it.
On Fox News Watch.
Saturdays at 6:30, only on the Fox News Channel.
The Unresolved Problem segment tonight. A new poll on BillO'Reilly.com says 62% of Americans do not want marijuana decriminalized in the USA. 38% do. Now, that's not a scientific poll, and we're keeping it open for another day. Up in Canada, the Chrétien government may indeed decriminalize marijuana, and the Bush administration doesn't like that at all. Joining us now from Washington is John Walters, the director of the White House National Drug Control Policy. You know, I'm for decriminalizing marijuana in the sense that you would fine people who were caught in public with it and then use that money for drug rehab. I would definitely continue to punish anybody who sells it. But in Canada, what are the implications if they do indeed decriminalize up there?
Well, the danger is that, of course, a market that's already producing high-potency marijuana and shipping most of it by Canadian law enforcement estimates to the United States would grow. I think that also the issue of decriminalization is one where, if we're going to be serious about this as a supply-demand problem, nobody unleashes demand and doesn't get more supply, more trafficking, more. If this was a victimless phenomenon, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it.
All right, so you believe that more people will get into the marijuana business in Canada, and the authorities up there won't pursue them aggressively?
Well, more people are getting in all the time. Canadian officials briefed me 2 weeks ago at an OAS meeting that the explosion to a multi-billion-dollar business in British Columbia is now moved to Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. The problem of talking to Canadian law enforcement is not that they don't even have laws on the books, it's that their judges don't give jail time to people who don't commit violent crimes. You can grow, you can traffic, you don't get jail time. Traffickers are moving rapidly into Canada to cash in.
Now, do they get jail time if they move crank, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin?
There has been
you get very few people who just sell marijuana. It's basically to sell everything.
Well, and in fact, we've had Hells Angels motorcycle gang being a principal mover of both cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and pseudoephedrine for the making of methamphetamine, and they're operating in Canada, and they're using routes for some of these things that are completely contained inside Canada and then shipping to the United States.
But will the Canadian authorities put you in jail if you move methamphetamine?
It depends on the jurisdiction. Too many jurisdictions, again, Canadian law enforcement tells me I don't have jurisdiction there, but they tell me they can't get people serious jail time for trafficking, even some serious drugs.
Really?
We just had a joint case.
That's a big problem. So
we just had a joint case on seizing pseudoephedrine, and we're going to request extradition of some of those people so they can get serious jail time in the United States. That's a joint RCMP-DEA case.
All right, the Chrétien government going to cooperate on that?
Well, RCMP, we've had great relationships with Canadian law enforcement.
Yeah,
the
cops are fine. It's the pinhead leaders of the country that defend the judges that are a problem. The cops are fine. All right, well, look, if he doesn't cooperate on that, let us know, and we'll, you know, bang the drum. Now,
we won't have to look very hard.
Okay, but we need to know right away so we can get on him. We don't really like Chrétien. We don't think he's a good guy. Now, what is the Bush administration prepared to do if this decriminalization passes, as it looks like it will?
Well, again, our principal problem is the movement into the United States.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
We've already moved people up to the border. We've had increased inspections in the border with British Columbia. We have had increased inspections requested from my office, where we provide funding for some of these in other areas in the eastern part of the United States, because this flow has come now through part of the New England states. We'll have to see. We'll respond to the threat. We have not made this a kind of like, if you do X, they're a sovereign country. That's counterproductive. But what we have to do is protect Americans.
Yeah, but certainly
right now this is out of control.
You must have a contingency plan, because, I mean, it looks like this is going to pass. Now, you're going to make it tougher for Canadians to get into the country? You're going to put more Border Patrol up there? You don't have enough Border Patrol as it is? Well, you guys must have a plan B in the drawer.
Well, we have some efforts already to strengthen the border, and I've been in conversation with Canadians and said, look at the border crossing at San Ysidro with Mexico, the lines, the problems. That's not because we dislike the Mexicans. It's because we have threats coming up from Mexico.
Sure.
If you increase the threat, what you're going to face is border crossings that look like this. Not because we dislike Mexico or trying to be heavy-handed. It's because we have to protect America.
All right. Well, that's the way to do it. And the other way is if they get too obnoxious, then, you know, we have to do economic things here. Mr. Walters, keep us posted. Thanks very much. We appreciate it. When we come back, one of the worst stories we reported in months, a 4-year-old girl scalded to death by her mother. Now that mother, out of jail, wants custody of her other children. Right back with it.
Some disturbing images from the past. Good evening, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia. And evidence of Saddam Hussein's reign of terror in Iraq has surfaced. David Lee Miller has more from Baghdad.
The regime of Saddam is gone. but a vivid reminder of its brutality has survived in the form of a videotape that shows the execution of 3 men. Although recorded 18 years ago, it is just as horrific as the day it was made. The tape, which we have heavily edited, reveals the 3 strapped with explosives, which are then detonated. One man is heard saying, "You are going to kill me, you are going to kill me," as explosives are stuffed into his shirt pocket. An Iraqi colonel reads a death decree dated February 12, 1985. It says the men are Iranian agents who killed several children and a university student by placing a grenade into a packet of baby milk. Although the decree states the men are to be hanged, they meet a far more gruesome fate. And in another development, the new head of the civil administration in Iraq is cracking down on crime. Today he said some 15,000 more U.S. troops and military police would arrive in the country to help improve security. He also said more than 1,000 Iraqi police are now back on the streets. In the last 48 hours alone, some 300 Iraqis have been detained by authorities. In Baghdad, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
Previous order.
This is a Fox News alert. You're looking live at the floor of the Senate where the final votes are being cast on the $350 billion tax cut proposal, which includes eliminating tax on dividends. The president had initially proposed a $726 billion plan. Earlier, Republicans trying to win support of party moderates agreed to provide $20 billion worth of aid to the states. Let's listen in for just a moment. I have a little break in the action here. As you can see on your screen, the bill has passed by a vote of 51 to 49. One note, though, as we were listening in earlier, John McCain voted against this package. So there's some problems here from both sides that President Bush still has to deal with within his own party as well. Again, it's a $350 billion tax cut proposal. Initially, the president did want $726 billion, and Republicans again agreeing to provide $20 billion in aid to states. This is all an attempt to win support from party moderates. This also reduces maximum tax rate on dividends from 38.6% to 19.3%. And also increases the child tax cut credit from $600 to $1,000, which also is good, and eliminates the marriage penalty in 2004. However, it is going to reinstate it and revisit it in 2005. Again, the package passes 51 to 49. You have been watching the U.S. Senate floor, where a $350 billion tax cut plan has just passed, again, by a vote of 51 to 49. I'm Donna Fiducia in New York. We now rejoin the O'Reilly Factor.
You're watching the #1 program on cable news. Enter the No Spin Zone on the O'Reilly Factor, the most powerful name in news, Fox News Channel.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Factor follow-up segment tonight. We told you about Tara G. Davis a couple of weeks ago. She's the Brooklyn mother, was not sentenced to any jail time after scalding her 4-year-old daughter, Dejani, to death in a bathtub. Davis spent a year in jail awaiting trial, but Brooklyn DA Charles Hines let her cop an unbelievable plea. Hines will not explain this travesty of justice, and we believe he is the worst district attorney in the United States of America. Very few people in New York City will talk about this story, including Al Sharpton. We cannot tell you why, but they are afraid. Now, the killer mother is trying to regain custody of her 3 other children, ages 2, 8, and 9. They are currently in foster care. Joining us from Albany is one of the few elected officials with the courage to discuss the case, State Assemblyman Stephen Kaufman. And from Washington, Shay Bilchik, president of the Child Welfare League of America. Hello. Assemblyman, we'll begin with you. We could not get one black leader in the state of New York to address this. We're talking Sharpton, Charles Barron, all the children advocates, all the people in Brooklyn where this happened. This woman walked out of jail, all right, after pleading for criminally negligent homicide with probation. Her 4-year-old daughter was scalded by her hand, was in the hospital for 19 days in agony. The brother said the little girl's skin was literally falling off her body. Police say there were signs of a struggle. The little girl tried to get out of the bathtub. The mother kept pushing it back into scalding water. Can you believe this, sir? Can you believe it?
This woman's a monster who should have been prosecuted for murder, and she's not entitled and should not get custody
of the remaining 3 children. We've had too many examples where parents have abused their children, gotten them back, and then murdered them or abused them even more, and it shouldn't be. And you're doing a tremendous justice by airing this problem because it's too extensive.
But why is the leadership of the state, both black and white, afraid to address the situation, sir?
I can't answer for anybody. I can only answer for myself, and I'm certainly outspoken about this. I've been very outspoken for the last several years, and I continue to speak my mind about this.
Does it surprise you that Sharpton and Barron and all of these people who are always running out will not say a word about this case?
Yes, I believe that they should be very vocal because people are being murdered. Innocent children, the most vulnerable segment of our society, is not being protected by our society.
All right, Mr. Bilczyk, do you see this the same way, or am I missing something here? We have a district attorney who makes a terrible plea with this woman who does not, you know, she spent 1 year in jail awaiting trial, and she's out on parole, probation. And we have, you know, now in family court trying to get her 3 other children back. I mean, it's like the Twilight Zone here.
Bill, this is a horrible picture. I mean, I think you know I was a prosecutor for 16 years, and this is a nightmare. This is the kind of case that needs to be fully prosecuted. Now, I understand that the prosecutor felt he couldn't win the case, that the facts weren't there, the child had recanted, there were circumstances that were in question. But you go for it. You try to do the best you can. You don't put a woman like this out on the street if you believed she intentionally burned this child. And then we get to the threshold issue of what happens to these other children. A woman with prior reports against her, a domestic violence situation, a dangerous home environment, a heavy burden is out there to ever think about her having her other children back.
Yeah, and it costs the taxpayer of hundreds of thousands of dollars to adjudicate the criminal and the civil case. But more importantly than that, I believe, Mr. Bilczyk, that because this little girl, this 4-year-old girl, was in the ghetto, poor, nobody cares about her. Obviously, nobody cares about her because nobody in the state of New York, with the exception of the assemblyman, will step up and talk about it. That's why this deal was made. I don't believe if this was a 4-year-old white girl from Garden City, Long Island, or Park Avenue, that this could have ever happened. Am I wrong?
I can't come to that conclusion. I don't know the people involved. What I do know is that we don't do a good enough job in investigating these types of crimes, of setting up our prosecution with enough training, and the courtrooms in a way that can make this kind of case work. This is one isolated case, Bill. There are thousands like this.
Right, but this
we're
is
not
so
doing a
bad.
good enough job to protect our kids.
Mr. Bilczyk, this is so bad. See, this is beyond the pale. This is a 4-year-old scalded to death, skin falling off, suffering 19 days in a hospital before she dies. Brother, eyewitness brother, telling the cops what happened, physical signs on the girl's body that she struggled, okay?
Right.
All right, all of this is fact. And Hines, the DA of Brooklyn, lets the case go. Woman walks out the door. Hines won't explain it, Mr. Bilczyk. Will not issue a statement about it. All right? You know, law and order, that place. This is a disgrace, Assemblyman. This is a disgrace. And there's nobody talking about it, and I'm just absolutely furious. What say you, sir?
People need to answer the questions. They need to stand up. If they make a decision, explain the decision they made, then explain the circumstances behind it. That hasn't happened here. It needs to happen.
All right.
And if those children are going to return to that mother, then that needs to be explained too, because that would not be something I
I don't think that's going to happen, but just the fact that it's in play is a scandal.
It's in play.
Assemblyman, what are you going to do about this?
Well, we have several bills in Albany that would prevent the reunification of the children with this horrid mother. The problem is the social service agencies believe in family reunification over child preservation. We must look at what is the best interest of the children. That should be our guidance star, and that's what should determine whether or not children should be reunited with families. And I believe, obviously, in this case, it shouldn't be done. And the primary interest should be what's the best interest for the children.
All right. There's nothing we can do legally because Hines cut the deal. The deal's been signed, and Spitzer, the Attorney General of the state, he can't do anything, right? How about launching an internal investigation? So is it worth doing that to send a message to Charles Hines that, you know, this kind of stuff is... Look, Hines in Brooklyn, and you know this because you're from the Bronx, Mr. Kaufman, right?
Yes.
All right. This guy's like a god over there. All right. He calls all the shots on who's going to go to jail, who's going to be prosecuted, what kind of time they're going to get. He's a god. And there's nobody watching this guy. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Well, the only one that can launch this investigation is the governor, who can appoint the special prosecutor. Nobody else has jurisdiction over that.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, we're going to ask Governor Pataki to do that. He will not do it. I can guarantee you that he will not do it. He's not a reformer. He's not a crusader. And your bills are going to come up to try to toughen up the systems.
We want to take away the doctrine of family reunification. It doesn't work. We should dwell on what is in the best interest of the children.
Problem is,
that should be the guiding star.
Problem is the social services are so chaotic in the state of New York.
It's even absurd when they do family reunification. They spend fortunes of taxpayers' money giving these misfit parents social service lessons, how to be parents.
Right.
And it shows it doesn't work. It shows they're not qualified as parents.
All right, we'll call Pataki's office and ask him for the special prosecutor. It won't happen. Gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. And I really hope we've embarrassed the District Attorney Hines, but embarrassment isn't good enough for this guy. Believe me, I've known this guy for 20 years. Not good enough for this guy. This is a real bad guy. Upcoming, it's back, just in time for prom season, freak dancing. We're not talking the twist here. Right back.
This program is brought to you by Toro. Count on it.
Yeah, look what Daddy's got, huh? Yeah. Look, watch Daddy. It's so good. Nummy, nummy. Look, it's good. Daddy likes it. It's good. It's good.
At least you can count on Toro mowers. Guaranteed to start on the first or second pull. Or we'll fix it free.
Emerging science suggests that lycopene is one of the ingredients in tomatoes that may help reduce the risk of heart disease. Now Centrum and Centrum Silver have lycopene, another reason to take your Centrum. New Centrum with lycopene, now more complete from A to Zinc.
How did we get the natural fiber of Metamucil powder into convenient capsules? Let's just say, it wasn't easy. All the benefits of Metamucil in capsules. Get regular, stay regular. The convenient.
Got change? Then head to McDonald's for breakfast and get your hands on our mouth-watering sausage McMuffin with egg sandwich. Now get 2 for just $2.49.
We take pride in our work. When you do that, everything else just falls into line.
At Griner, they give me the best training so that I can give you the best possible service.
I'm not sure how it happens. We just get great customers.
It's simple. We work as a team.
On over to HSN.
The drama of the NBA playoffs is on TNT with over 40 games in 40 nights. TNT is your exclusive home for the Western Conference Finals. The drama of the NBA playoffs is on TNT.
Thank you, Yolo County, for voting University Honda Best Car Dealership for 4 consecutive years. Come see us today at 4343 Childs Road or online at universityhonda.com.
Grab a mini meal at McDonald's today. Choose from our big and tasty burger, McChicken sandwich, double cheese.